Good old HyperCard, the groundbreaking multimedia authoring program that enabled so many people to create so many things. HyperCard made it easy for non-programmers to express ideas and share information. HyperCard programs, called stacks, can be thought of as virtual stacks of cards. Each card can be linked together, filled with text, tables, graphics, or even programmable buttons, using a very easy-to-understand scripting language called HyperTalk. I speak from experience here. I was a HyperCard child. HyperTalk was very easy to understand. I made so many adventure games with this software when I was a kid, and I've heard from so many others that they share the same experience. HyperCard was borderline magical, and not just to kids. The fact that you could get your idea onto the screen and have a functioning program within minutes is, well, out of this world. And it was. HyperCard was realized during an LSD trip by Apple programming hero Bill Atkinson. He pondered the hindrances between pieces of information and how different types of people had different types of knowledge, but no real connection. It was his ambition to find a way to encourage the sharing of ideas and information between these different areas of knowledge, with the goal of creating wisdom for mankind. Sounds a little like the World Wide Web. It does, and it is. And the web did have some influence from HyperCard, and pretty much made it obsolete, as HyperCard was based around local stacks running on a single machine, whereas the web is all about connecting to computers all around the world. That's too bad for HyperCard, but it's great for us because we don't have to worry about dead links, offline servers, none of that. If you got the stack, you've got the whole thing. There were all kinds of stacks, several million according to Atkinson, and I'd believe it. Educational stacks, organizational stacks, reference stacks, communications stacks, utility stacks, music stacks, hack a stack, and also game stacks. This is what we're interested in today. HyperCard really wasn't intended to be used to make games, more of an information tool, so it's actually kind of limited on what you can really pull off here. As always though, people are incredibly creative and manage to make some great stuff in HyperCard. We've all heard of the masterpieces that Cyan made in HyperCard, most notably the game Myst. Honestly, Cyan games deserve their own video, so I won't be talking about these ones. I want to focus on some of the smaller, lesser known shareware and freeware games. So in this video, I've rounded up 10 of them that we're going to look at today. So let's get right into this and explore the world of HyperCard games. Charge! Charge is an action game where you drive a car down a street filled with landmines. There's also enemy tanks coming at you, which you've got to exchange fire with. But shots don't travel very far here, so the real challenge is to get close enough to them to be able to shoot them, but you don't want to let them touch you. There's no speed throttle or anything, so I'd recommend playing this one in Mini VMAX, as it makes it easy to adjust how fast you want the game to run. I'd recommend running this at 4x, but 8x is definitely a good challenge. Icon Invasion. This one's a pretty basic Space Invaders type of game. The gameplay isn't enthralling, but it's certainly interesting to see this type of game inside of a HyperCard stack. You move left and right and hit the spacebar to shoot a bomb. The enemies are all icons from different applications in the Finder, and you want to prevent them from touching the bottom of the screen. When you hit an enemy, there's usually a little wisecrack at the top of the screen. Pretty funny. This would be a lot better if it kept track of scores and saved the high scores. Island Defender. In Island Defender, you defend your island from incoming ships using a gun hidden inside of a volcano. In order to shoot at the enemies, you have to place your shot marker on this mini-map and try your best to estimate where the ship is in relation to the full game map. It's actually a pretty good challenge. Nerd. There's a practice mode, which has a grid to help you align your shots. An easy mode that removes the grid. and a hard mode, which switches the aiming up with the plus on the minimap being the enemy ship, and you have to place your marker where you think your island is in relation to the ship. Personally, I found much more enjoyment in the hard mode, but it's a pretty good game overall. Cryptogram. I had no idea when I started up this game that I'd end up liking it so much. It's a substitution cipher game, where each letter is replaced by a different letter and it's up to you to decrypt the sentence. Some of these are not what I'd call easy, but the game does give you the solution to one letter if you hit the help button. But you can only use the help button 5 times for each game though. There's 99 puzzles to solve in this game, so there's a lot of content here. Really well made game that you could easily spend an evening playing. Highly recommended. Desk Fighter. Who said there's no fighting games on Mac? We've got Desk Fighter. Actually, this is just more impressive than it is an actual good game. It's borderline unplayable, but it sure is interesting. Choose You Fighter. It's got 5 playable characters, each with the standard punch and kick moves, but also 2 unique super moves and a power move. You can definitely tell a lot of work went into this, and it's crazy to see that it's all done in HyperCard. Hyper Dungeon. Hyper Dungeon is sort of a dungeon crawler / adventure style game. It's got sort of a weird way of navigation where you've got to click on these arrows to navigate the dungeon. You run around 4 different scenarios, battling enemies, collecting treasure. It's sort of fun. The sound effects in this game are pretty unsettling, and it likes to crash in emulators, but other than that, it's not too bad of a game. I had some fun with it. Hypertris. Tetris is available on everything, and while the Mac has an excellent licensed version of Tetris, there is indeed a version for HyperCard. Hypertris. This is a pretty cool version. It's 1 or 2 player, has high scores, runs at a good speed. It's not a bad version, except, and this is kind of a big flaw, as far as I know, the pieces don't ever speed up. The speed of the game is the same the whole time you're playing. There aren't any different levels you get to like in real Tetris, so if you're even decent at Tetris, you'll end up getting bored before you mess up enough to end your game. Still, it's incredible to see this classic implemented in HyperCard. Nuts. Quackman. Here's another classic game implemented in HyperCard. It's even by the same guy who made Hypertris. Quackman. This version plays pretty well. If you're emulating it, you can experiment with the speed settings in Mini VMac to find one that fits you best. But here I'm playing it at 16x, which I found to be a good speed. As for the gameplay, it's your standard Pac-Man, though a bit cut down. There's no bonus fruit, no other levels, no progression, no extra lives, even though they're shown, and no passing the first level. This can't be right. I think my copy's busted. The Haunted House. Here we have a fun stack, where you explore a cartoon-style haunted house, filled with lots of silly clickables. I think this is meant for kids, but honestly it's so much fun to explore that I spent a while with this stack.
Welcome to the doctor's lab, where there lurks a thing that is mad and bad. At least that's what some people say. Perhaps it only wants to play.
Everything that looks like you can click on it, you can. There's so many zany animations and neat stuff to discover.
Don't touch that.
Check out this talking robot that comes up with these weird phrases.
The thing ate Snaggletooth.
The beast screeched at the wild man. It chased an iron mask beside the skeleton.
I could mess around with this one forever. The last game we're going to check out today is called Casino Columns. This is a really interesting and well-made game. The game plays sort of like Tetris and sort of like a slot machine. You've got to create stacks of 3 symbols vertically to score points. With the cherry, you only need to stack 2 and it will destroy the piece directly below it. If you've got a jumbled stack, you can clear it by using an anvil, though the anvils are limited. If you stack 3 cherries on the very bottom of the bin, you can earn another anvil. As you score more points, the game starts to go faster, until it overwhelms you and it's game over.
Game over.
Like I said, this is a really well-made game. This might just be my favorite HyperCard game. And there we have it. 10 interesting HyperCard games. Honestly, there's so many HyperCard games out there that I could probably put together a part 2 of this video, no problem. This list of games was made from only a small sample of around 100 or so stacks. And stacks are still being unearthed all the time. I believe I've mentioned this before, but if HyperCard is interesting to you, you've definitely got to check out what archive.org has rounded up. You can even play those stacks right in your browser with varying levels of success. But that's not just an archive.org issue. There were 2 main versions of HyperCard released, version 1 and version 2. When it comes to gaming, version 1 was better suited to more simpler games, adventure-style games or word games. Version 2 is where you'll find some of the more advanced stuff. There's also X commands and X functions, which extended the functionality of HyperCard stacks, so programmers would be able to add pretty much any functionality they wanted to. There is some trial and error involved when trying to run stacks. Some stacks seem to run better in version 1, most of them run in version 2, some run fine in emulators, and some crash horribly and only like real hardware. HyperCard is incredibly interesting to me. I could explore stacks all day. And I probably will make another video about this sometime in the future. But until then, I hope you've enjoyed this look at just some of the interesting things that people have created in the wonderful world of HyperCard. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm on a mission to make videos more often, but I can only do that with your help. There's a lot that goes into this, so please consider supporting this channel on Patreon. The link is in the description. Take care guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.